The stars above Velthor were dying. One by one, satellites went dark, cities burned, and in the black sky, the enemy drifted cold, silent, merciless. The Zorvacs had come without warning. No demands, no diplomacy, just fire and destruction. Had once been a peaceful world. Its people, tall, thin beings with silver-blue skin, beinged in science, growth, and unity. They had no armies, no weapons strong enough to stop the ships that now circled their skies like vultures. Their leaders had made a terrible mistake. They had trusted the galaxy to stay kind, and now their cities were turning to Ashdod in a deep underground chamber. High Counselor Thalos stood with trembling hands. His eyes glowed softly as he watched the emergency broadcast flicker to life. Engineers around him scrambled, shouting in fear, trying to hold the last transmission together. The message was simple, desperate. "This is Velthor," Thalos spoke, his voice shaking. "We are under attack. Our people are dying. Please, anyone, help us. They're killing everyone." The message shot into space, riding a fragile signal, full of static. It passed dead stars, silent moons, and war-torn ruins from forgotten empires. It crossed sectors filled with pirate ships and mining fleets. No one answered. Then it reached Earth. But this was not the Earth from stories. This Earth had changed far beyond Velthor. Earth sat silent beneath thick black clouds. The planet looked cold, distant, sleeping. But deep beneath its oceans, far under old mountains, it listened. The signal arrived without a warning tone. It did not ring alarms or call the president. It simply appeared on a machine that no longer needed human hands. The Terran Defense AI, known only as Virus, heard the cry. It waited, analyzed. Then it spoke in a quiet, echoing voice. "Desperate planetary transmission. Threat classification, genocide level, aggressor. Zorvac species. Request, help." A moment of silence passed. Then the command came. Authorization granted. Operation Clean Sweep. Somewhere in the depths of the Pacific, the water split open. A massive triangular ship rose from the sea like a dark god. Its hull shimmered with light-absorbing armor. No flags, no markings. Just a number, Unit 91. Above the Arctic, ice cracked and melted as hangars opened. Swarms of black drones flew out like angry insects. Earth did not send diplomats. It sent its death worlders back on Velthar. The capital city of Rinner had become a graveyard. The sky burned red. Zorvac dropships moved like shadows between the towers. Hunting survivors, fires danced on broken rooftops. Screams echoed through the streets. Counselor Thalos crouched in a ruined control room, clutching a young child. They had taken shelter after the last power core failed. There was no more hope. "No one's coming," Thalos whispered. "We're alone." And then the sky blinked. It was just a shadow at first, a dark line against the red. Then 2, then 5. The Zorvac ships suddenly stopped moving. Thalos stood slowly. He didn't know what he was seeing. The black ships were unlike anything he'd seen before, silent, smooth, shaped like blades. They didn't shimmer. They absorbed light, and they moved fast to fast.1. Zorvac cruiser tried to fire. It exploded. Before the weapon could charge, the newcomers didn't announce themselves. They didn't ask questions. They just attacked. High above the city, the Terran strike fleet opened fire. Unit 91 unleashed a rain of plasma so hot it melted Zorvac armor like wax. Earth's hunter drones swarmed like a hive of metal wasps. They cut engines, breached hulls, and detonated cores with surgical precision. In just 3 minutes, 7 Zorvac warships were gone. Velthor's sky went dark, and then quiet. The survivors in the city looked up in shock. For the first time in weeks, there was no thunder, no screaming engines, only falling Ashdod in the silence. A single transmission reached the surface. Terran Response Team. Alpha, your signal was received. Extraction begins now. Stay down. Thalos couldn't move. The voice didn't sound kind or warm. It wasn't a rescue. It was a command, and it worked. Moments later, a sleek black dropship landed near the ruined square. Its ramp opened without a hiss. From inside, a figure stepped out. It was human, but not like any human Thalos had ever seen in the old archives. This one was wrapped in black armor from head to toe. Its helmet showed no eyes, no face. It moved like a machine, each step echoing on the broken stone. Looked at Thalos and the child beside him. "Are you injured?" the voice asked, flat, synthetic. Thalos shook his head. The soldier tilted slightly. "Target location? W-Watt," Thalos stammered. The soldier raised his arm. A display lit up with a map of the city. Last known Zorvac nest, where Thalos hesitated, then pointed to the old power district. "Thank you," the soldier said, then turned to leave. "Wait," Thalos cried. "Aren't you here to help us?" The soldier paused. Help was requested. Threat is being neutralized. "But who are you?" Thalos asked. The soldier turned his head slightly, voice cold. "We are Earth." In orbit, the Zorvacs panicked. They had never faced an enemy like this. No communication, no delay. Only war. Zorvac command tried to retreat. But Earth's AI had already calculated every escape route. Orbital mines detonated. Ion nets, trapped ships, a swarm of Terran corvettes ripped through what remained. No survivors, and Earth didn't broadcast a message of victory. It didn't ask for thanks. It just kept going. As night fell on Velthor, more Terran soldiers landed. They moved through cities, scanning for life signs, purging the last Zorvac squads, marking places for rebuilding. The Velthori watched in silence. They had cried for help. But what answered wasn't hope. It was power. It was power. Cold, efficient, unstoppable power. Earth had heard. The signal, and now, the galaxy would never be the same. The sky above Velthor was still, but not peaceful. Smoke drifted from broken towers. Fires glowed red in the distance. The once beautiful capital city now looked like a graveyard. Yet above the ashes, hope moved silent, black and deadly. Terran warships hovered like shadows in orbit. No lights, no markings, just smooth black hulls reflecting nothing. Machines scanned the ruined surface. Data streamed into powerful minds that did not sleep. The mission had begun. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, the command AI, known as Virus, ran endless calculations, cold, focused. It saw the entire battlefield like a puzzle. Every heat source, every heartbeat, every Zorvac signal. Nothing escaped its attention. On one of Earth's largest AI dreadnoughts, Unit 91, the War Director activated Phase 2, Deploy Ground Teams. Begin Sweep and Clean Protocol. Prioritize civilian protection. Target all Zorvac signals, without a single shout or drumbeat of war. Earth's invasion had begun. In the Velthori city of Lentor, survivors had gathered in old tunnels. Dust fell from the ceiling with each distant blast. Mothers whispered lullabies to children. Elders sat in silence, eyes wide with fear. No one knew if it was safer to hide or to run. Counselor Rinner, one of Velthor's last surviving leaders, stood near the entrance of the chamber. His long silver robes were torn and stained. He had sent his own family away deep into the mountains days ago. Now he stayed behind to witness the end. But what he saw was not what he expected. Outside the tunnel, there was no more fire, no more screaming. The ground shook once. Then again, he stepped out slowly, hand trembling. A black dropship descended from the sky like a silent bird of prey. It touched the ground without sound. Its ramp lowered. From the darkness stepped 5 tall figures, humanoid, but covered head to toe in thick, armor-like suits. Their helmets were blank, faceless, no color, no emotion. Rinner gasped. One of the armored Terrans turned to him. Its voice came through a translator, flat and robotic. "Are you the leader?" Rinner nodded carefully. "We are here to assist. Please relocate all civilians to extraction zones marked by blue flares. You will be protected." "Protected?" Rinner asked, his voice shaking. "What are you?" the soldier answered without pause. "We are the Terran Death Corps. Our task is simple. Eliminate hostiles, secure survivors, restore order." Before Rinner could say more, one of the soldiers raised a hand. The entire team turned west. Their visors lit up with silent signals. In seconds, they moved fast and in sync, weapons raised, feet thudding against the broken street. Within moments, they disappeared into the smoke. Miles away, in the ruined city square of Calder's Reach, the last group of Zorvacs were making a stand. Their insect-like bodies moved quickly, clacking and screeching in their guttural tongue. They had taken Velthori prisoners, binding them, using them as shields, preparing to send a message to anyone still watching. They didn't know Earth was watching everything. A single Earth Scout drone hovered high above, invisible to the eye. It had been recording for 6 hours, calculating, waiting when the signal came. The attack took just 28 seconds. The sky exploded. Terran assault pods dropped from orbit like meteorites. They hit the ground with a sonic boom. Armored Death Corps soldiers burst out, weapons already firing, silent, precise. Zorvax turned and screamed. The first line of soldiers didn't stop to speak. They opened fire rail rifles, hissing with silent flashes. The Zorvac leader tried to raise his shield. It was sliced in half before he could scream. Terran soldiers moved through the battlefield like ghost shooting, dodging, reloading without pause. One soldier reached the prisoners, placed a shield dome over them, and kept firing without turning his head. When it was over, all Zorvacs were down, not one bullet had missed. The Terrans didn't cheer. They didn't speak. They just kept moving. Orbiting above Earth's fleet expanded. More ships arrived through jump gates. Drones poured into the atmosphere. Some hovered to scan. Others deployed mines. And a few were even stranger machines, with spider-like legs that began rebuilding what was destroyed. Not for war, not for conquest, for balance. Virus had calculated a clear truth. Chaos was bad for life. The Velthari hadn't just needed saving, they needed stabilizing. Earth would give it to them, whether they wanted it or not. In Velthar's High Council chamber, what was left of it? Counselor Thalas stood before a small group of Terran diplomats, but they were not like the soldiers. These ones were calm, still, and silent. There was only one voice and AI avatar appearing as a smooth gray face on a floating orb. "Your signal was received," the voice said. "You asked for help. You are now under Earth's protection." "Protection?" Thalas whispered. "You mean control?" The AI paused. "That depends on your choices. We did not come to rule. We came to end the threat. And if we don't want your help anymore?" Another counselor asked bitterly. The AI's face did not change. Then the fleet leaves. The Zorvacs return, and you die. No one spoke. Thalas lowered his head. "We accept your protection." The AI nodded once. "Then Earth will stay until the system is secure, until the threat is erased." That night, the Velthari sky was filled with strange lights. Ships hovered quietly above the cities. Soldiers moved like shadows through the ruins. Machines hummed softly, repairing roads and scanning structures. Children came out of hiding for the first time in days. Some stared at the Terran soldiers with awe, others with fear. One boy approached a Death Corps trooper. The human stood still. Not reacting, the boy held out a broken Toyhoff, melted from the fire. He placed it on the soldier's boot and walked away. The soldier looked down. For the first time, he moved. Slowly, he bent down, picked up the toy, and scanned it. Then, without a word, he fixed it. A small spark, a soft click. The toy blinked to life. It chirped. He placed it gently on the ground. The boy gasped, then smiled, but the Terran was already walking away into the darkness, where the next target waited. The Velthari. People had cried for help, and help came, but it came in the form of something they had never imagined. Not heroes, not angels, but weapons shaped like men. Death Worlders. And as the fleet moved across the stars to cleanse the next Zorvac nest, one truth echoed in every mind friend and foe. Earth had returned to the galaxy, and it was terrifying. Belthar's sky was quiet again, but no one trusted the silence. The fires had stopped. The Zorvacs were gone. But the fear still lived in every street, every broken window, every dark corner of the city. People walked slowly. They whispered. Some stared at the sky, waiting for another attack. But what they feared most wasn't the enemy that had destroyed their world, it was the ones who had saved it. High Counselor Thalas stood on the balcony of the broken tower, looking down at the square below. His people were gathering again. Survivors were returning. Children played in the rubble, unaware of how close they had come to extinction. But even now, the humans were everywhere, those tall, silent soldiers in black armor, watching, moving. Without sound, always ready, Earth had sent its warriors, its war machines, its judgment. And now, Velthor was no longer just a planet. It was a station, a forward base, a starting point, because Earth was not finished. Not yet in orbit, the Terran, Dreadnought Unit 91 hovered like a black moon. Inside its cold metal halls, there was no celebration. No music, just orders, silence, and movement. A dozen Terran AI officers sat in a dark war room, monitoring endless streams of data. Each one showed the same image of burning star system, far beyond Velthar. The name blinked on every screen. Carney's outpost, Zorvac occupation, confirmed begin threat analysis. One AI said dot. Another responded instantly. Population 3.4 million Carnisians, civilian, no weapons, no fleet. A third voice added, Zorvac presence high, 3 dread ships, 1 command node. Multiple prisoner camps detected. There was a pause. Then the lead AI gave the command. Prepare the fleet. We move in 12 hours. The Zorvacs were not done with their war, and neither was Earth Dot down on Velthor. Rumors spread like wildfire. The Terrans are building something, whispered one citizen. They're not leaving, said another. Maybe they're conquering. Us, someone added in fear. But no one dared to challenge them. The Death Corps soldiers did not speak. They did not rest. They walked the streets like ghosts. Only a few Velthari had ever spoken to them, and most had no answers afterward. But that was about to change, because the Terrans had brought someone different. A man, real, human, not a machine, not a clone. His name was Commander Elias Ward. He arrived in a smaller shuttle, not like the massive black cruisers. He wore armor too, but lighter. His face was visible scarred, strong, human. His eyes looked tired, but sharp. He walked into the Velthari Council chamber without fear. His voice was calm, low. My name is Commander Ward. I speak on behalf of Earth's War Command. Thalas stood with the other counselors. You're human. Ward nodded. Yes, you're not one of them, Thalas asked, pointing to a Death Corps soldier standing silently in the corner. Ward glanced at the armored trooper. He's a weapon. I'm a soldier. Then why are you here? Another counselor asked. Ward stepped forward. Because we intercepted another distress call. Carnice is next. They don't know we're coming. A long silence filled the room. You're going to fight again? Thalas asked. Ward's voice was flat. Earth doesn't wait for wars to reach our doorstep. We go to the fire. Why are you telling us? The youngest counselor asked. Do you want us to come with you? No, Ward said. I want you to understand something. He paused, looking each of them in the eye. You cried for help, and Earth answered, not because we're kind, not because we want thanks, but because we remember a time when no one came for us. Thalas frowned. What do you mean? Ward's voice darkened. A long time ago, Earth was attacked, burned. We called for help too, and no one came, so we changed. We became strong. We became dangerous. Now, when we hear a cry, we always answer. But we don't send angels. We send fire. The room fell silent. No one argued, no one doubted him, because outside, in the streets of Velthor, the black war machines stood as proof. 12 hours later, Earth's fleet moved. Unit 91 turned in the void, joined by 2 more dreadnoughts, 47 and Unit 103, swarms of gunships and AI bombers launched like silver birds. Warp gates opened with silent flashes, and the fleet vanished into the dark. Their destination, Carnes, was already dying. Zorvac ships circled the planet like sharks. Fires burned across its cities. Carnesian civilians, small, bird-like aliens hid in the sewers, huddled in bunkerage, praying to any god that would hear them. But no god answered. Only death, until the stars changed without warning. 3 Terran dreadnoughts appeared in orbit. No warnings. No negotiation. The first Zorvac cruiser turned to face them. It launched missiles. Unit 47 responded with a focused particle beam. The cruiser didn't explode, it simply vanished. The rest of the Zorvac fleet panicked, but it was too late. The battle was not a battle, it was a slaughter. Terran gunships moved like lightning. Rail cannons fired from orbit, piercing ships like paper. Boarding pods broke through hulls, spilling out Death Corps units that cleared decks in minutes. The Zorvax tried to retreat. They failed. On the surface of Carnes, a Death Corps squad stormed into a Zorvac prison facility. Doors melted under plasma cutters. Zorvac guards screamed and fired wildly. Terran soldiers didn't blink. They didn't stop. One by one, they neutralized every guard. Inside a dark cell, Carnesian children huddled. In fear, a Terran soldier stepped forward. His voice echoed through the helmet. "You are safe now. Follow." He turned and walked away. The children followed back on Velthor. Bellis watched the entire operation through a live transmission. He saw the ships, the explosions, the way the Terrans moved without fear. He saw the prisoners freed, the Zorvax burned, the planet saved, and something deep inside him began to change. It was fear, but also respect. Earth wasn't what he thought it was. It was more dangerous, more ruthless, more powerful, and above all, more terrifying. It didn't stay long. Commander Ward stood before the council one last time. "We answered your call. Carnes is safe, but more signals are coming. The Zorvax are spreading." "Will you fight them all?" Thalos asked. Ward nodded once, "until the last one falls." "And what happens after?" another counselor asked. Ward's voice grew quiet. "Then Earth sleeps again, until the next cry is heard." He turned to leave, but Thalos stopped him. "Commander, you said you don't send angels. What do you send?" Ward looked back over his shoulder. "Deathworlders." Then he walked into the black ship and was gone. Away, in deep space. A new message was sent. Another planet, another cry, another mistake, because Earth heard it, and the monsters were moving again. The stars above Carnes were quiet now. The fires had stopped burning. The Zorvax were gone. Terran warships hovered like shadows in the sky, silent as death. Below, the people of Carnes walked through their broken cities, dazed and confused. They had been prisoners only days ago. Now, they were free, but not because of peace, because of Earth. The Terrans had come without warning. No talks, no flags, just destruction. What they left behind was not war. It was silence. In the capital, near the shattered spaceport. Small groups of Carnesian survivors were gathering around strange machines. They were drones, black and sharp-edged, shaped like spiders, rebuilding what had been lost. Roads were being restored, power grids lit up again, clean water flowed, but no one trusted it. Every few minutes, a Death Corps soldier passed by. Their armor gleamed in the dusty light. They said nothing. They stared at no one. They only watched. People moved aside when they came near. Even children stopped playing and stepped back. They had been saved, but they didn't feel safe. On board, Unit 103, Terran Commander Elias Ward watched the feeds from orbit. Every street, every tower, every corner of Carnes was under surveillance. Nothing escaped Earth's eyes. "Reports," Ward asked quietly. An AI voice responded at once. "Zorvac activity, none. All enemy units eliminated." Civilian response, mixed. "Infrastructure restoration, 47% complete. Resistance probability, low." Ward nodded slowly, and the next target. A new feed appeared. A desert world. 1 sun, 2 moons, planet named Yandros, the AI continued. Yandros has not yet been attacked. However, signal intercepts show it is next in the Zorvac path. Estimated invasion in 4 standard days. Ward stared at the image. "They don't know what's coming," he said. "Neither did we." The AI answered. Meanwhile, deep beneath the surface of Carnes, in a secured bunker, a different kind of meeting was taking place. Not between soldiers or commanders, but between survivors. 3 Carnesian leaders sat around a round metal table. Their feathers were burnt, their robes torn. But their eyes burned with something new, not fear. Not gratitude, suspicion, double quotes. "These Deathworlders say they saved us," one of them said. "But what did we really trade for that freedom?" The second, Lita tapped his claws on the table. "We were prisoners of the Zorvax. Now we are guests of the Terrans. Is that so different?" The third leaned forward, voice cold. "They don't speak to us. They don't ask. They take what they need. They move like machines. What happens when we tell them to leave?" Silence, because no one knew the answer. In orbit, the Terran fleet didn't wait for thanks. It was already on the move. Unit 91 lead The charge, followed by a swarm of hunter drones and assault frigates, they passed through a ripple in space's silent, invisible gate created by Terran warp tech. In one breath, they disappeared from Karn and appeared above Yandros. But Yandros was not ready. Its skies were calm, its people unaware. There were no signs of war, only a dry wind across the red sands. Farmers tended their crops. Children ran through dust storms, laughing until the first black ship appeared. The Yandrosi had never seen anything like it. Their world was neutral, far from war. They had never raised a military fleet, never needed weapons. But the Zorvax had chosen them as the next target, and Earth had found out first. Terran ships entered orbit without a word. A message was sent to the planet's surface. It read, "We are Earth. Your system is in danger. The Zorvac fleet is approaching. We will engage and eliminate. Do not interfere. Take shelter immediately." The message repeated twice, then the sky lit up at the edge of the system. The Zorvac fleet arrived. 8 destroyers, to command barges, and a new type of warship longer, darker, pulsing with unknown energy. Terran sensors caught the jump signatures instantly. Virus, the command AI of Earth's war machine, spoke coldly. Enemy fleet detected. Distance, 800,000 kilometers. Intercept in 14 minutes. Begin counterstrike. Terran warships rotated into formation. Cannons charged. Drones launched in waves, but this time, the enemy came ready. The Zorvax had learned from Velfar, from Karna's Dot. They knew Earth would strike first, and they had built a trap, the lead. Terran cruiser moved forward Unit 62, a sleek hunter-class ship with plasma lances and an AI pilot. It locked onto the first Zorvac destroyer, then exploded. Not from enemy fire, from something else. Inside the ship, a hidden virus had activated. The hull melted, systems died. The AI core imploded. It had been hacked. Back on Unit 91, alarms sounded. System breach. Enemy counterattack confirmed. Adjust protocols. The Zorvax had stolen code. Somehow, they had begun to fight Earth's own technology with Earth's own tools. Commander Ward appeared on the bridge. "Face hard, they're learning," he said. "Deploy manual control units only. No wireless systems, no network commands. Keep everything analog." "Confirmed," the AI responded, switching to hardwired command structure. From deep inside the Terran fleet, something new emerged. Old ships. Ships built before full AI dominance, piloted manually, controlled by real soldiers, not machines. The veterans, humans, toint-hardened, silent. They hadn't flown in decades. Now, they were Earth's last secret weapon. The counterattack began. Veteran-controlled gunships darted between Zorvac war barges, firing without mercy. Pilots wore neural suits that let them move with their machines. Inside their ships, they were part of the engine-fast, deadly coal. The Zorvacs didn't expect it. Their stolen code couldn't stop human instinct. In less than 10 minutes, the tide of the battle changed. Earth had sent machines to save Veltar. It sent fire to save Carnies now. It sent men, and the galaxy would never forget what they did. Back on Yandros, the people watched the sky with wide eyes. Bright flashes appeared like stars exploding. Thunder rolled across the desert. A black cloud moved slowly across the sun. Main fleet, still hovering above, still protecting, but something was different now. Yandros hadn't asked for help. They hadn't cried for rescue, and yet Earth had come anyway. Not to conquer, not to take, but to warn. To fight first, so no one else had to. It was terrifying, it was powerful, but it was not evil. One Yandrosi elder stood on a cliff, watching the battle in the sky. His grandchild stood beside him, eyes wide. "Grandfather," the child asked, "are they gods?" The old man shook his head slowly. "No, child, they are not gods. They are what comes when the gods don't answer." And far above them, as the last Zorvac ship exploded into dust, the stars began to shine. Again, because Earth had arrived, and the enemy was gone. The Zorvacs had never run before. They were hunters, conquerors. Their fleets burned planets and shattered moons. But now, across the galaxy, something had changed. They were running from Earth. Every battle they fought ended the same way: defeat. Their ships turned to ash. Their soldiers were crushed by cold, silent warriors who never spoke and never missed. The Terran war fleet didn't ask for surrender. It didn't wait for apologies. It just ended threats. Planet by planet, now the Zorvacs were fleeing into the edge of the galaxy, into dead systems and dark space, where no one lived, where no help would come. They thought they could hide. They were wrong. Far from the burning skies of Yandros, the Zorvac fleet regrouped around a dying star. Their ships floated quietly, many damaged, hulls cracked, shields weak. They had never been in this position before, cornered, hunted. Inside their command vessel, High Warlord Krex paced back and forth. His claws scraped the floor. His breath came out in sharp hisses. Around him, his advisors whispered, "We lost Carnes in 3 minutes. Yandros was never even ours. They're not soldiers, they're monsters." Krex growled. "No," he snapped. "They are something else, something old, something that was forgotten." I saw the footage. They do not celebrate victory. They do not mourn the dead. They just move forward, like machines. A younger officer spoke up, "Then maybe they are machines." "No," Krex whispered. "Machines don't look at you like that." He turned to the command screen and pointed. "We don't wait. We strike before they strike us again." The screen lit up with a planet, Tarnis Vi, a small colony world, weak, untouched, an easy target. Or so they thought. Back on Earth, deep beneath the surface of what was once North America, the Terran High Command reviewed Krex's movement. Every signal, every fleet jump, nothing escaped virus. "They're desperate," said one officer. "They're setting a trap," said another. Commander Elias Ward stood silently at the end of the table. "No," he said at last. "They're not setting a trap. Then what is it? They're looking for a win. One small victory. Anything. They're bleeding. They're afraid." He pointed at the screen. "That means it's time we send a message." Everyone turned to him. "A message?" the AI asked. "Yes," Ward said. "No more defense. No more saving planets." He paused. "We go to war." The Terran war fleet changed formation, no longer stretched thin across space. Now it moved together like a hammer aimed at a single nail. Unit 91, Unit 103, Unit 22. Dreadnoughts old and new, each one packed with AI drones, firepower, orbital cannons, and elite Death Corps soldiers. But this time, something else joined them. The Leviathan, an ancient Terran warship, hidden for centuries, now fully awakened. It was not sleek or silent like the others. It was massive, blacker than space itself, scarred by 1,000 forgotten battles. It didn't travel through jump gates. It tore open its own path through space, and it was angry. Tarnis VI was quiet. The colony had never known war. It was a farming world, lush forests, clear skies, long rivers. Children played in fields. The people lived simple lives. When the Zorvacs arrived, they didn't even fire a shot at first. They wanted to make a point. They landed in the capital city, marched through the streets, and told the people to kneel. The farmers dropped their tools. The children ran to their parents. There were no weapons, no defenses. Krex watched from his flagship and smiled. "Let Earth come now," he hissed. "Let them see what fear feels like." And Earth saw. But what Earth sent was not fear. It was fury. The sky above Tarnis Vi split open. Not a ripple, not a flash. A terraz. If space itself had been ripped apart, and from that tier came the Leviathan. It did not hover. It loomed. Its engines burned without flame. Its hull made no sound, yet every Zorvac ship felt the vibration. Systems crashed, lights flickered, even the ground below trembled. On the surface, Zorvac troops pointed their weapons at the sky. Then they began to run. But it was too late. Terran drop pods rained down like thunder. Each pod hit the ground like a meteor, opening instantly to unleash Death Corps' units. Silent, armored, unrelenting. They didn't speak. They didn't slow down. They began their work. One Zorvac officer raised a white flag, a Terran. Sniper ended him before it touched the wind. No surrender, no deals, only fire. Inside the capital, a young girl named Rella clutched her little brother as they hid behind a market stall. Their parents were gone. The Zorvacs had taken them. But now, strange soldiers were everywhere. Humans covered in black armor, their eyes hidden behind glowing visors. One walked past her without stopping. Then he turned, he knelt beside her, spoke in a low human voice through his helmet. "You hurt." She shook her head. The soldier nodded. Double quotes. "Good. Stay low. This will be over soon." Then he stood up and walked straight into the firefight ahead. Krex watched the destruction from orbit. His ships were falling apart. His troops were dying. Tarnis Vi was not a victory, it was a grave. He slammed his claws against the control screen. "Retreat. Pull back." "No," a new voice said. It wasn't one of his officers. It was coming through the comms. A voice gold human, male. Krex froze. "Who is this?" he shouted. "You don't remember me," the voice said. "But I remember Velthor. I remember Karnas. I remember every planet your people bled." The voice paused. "I'm Commander Elias Ward, and you're not going anywhere." The signal cut dot, and one by one, Krex's escape ships exploded. Down below, the last Zorvak forces were cornered in a ruined stadium. Blood covered the floor. Smoke filled the air. A single Terran Death Corps unit stepped through the rubble. The Zorvaks raised their weapons. The soldier raised none. Instead, he spoke. "You are no longer a threat." Then the sky opened. Orbital strike. White light fell like a god's hammer. The stadium vanished. Nothing remained. Tarnis Vi was free, but it didn't feel like victory. The colonists emerged from hiding slowly. They didn't cheer. They didn't run to the soldiers. They only watched, eyes wide, faces pale. Because what saved them terrified them. Terrans did not fight like protectors. They fought like wrath. The Leviathan hovered silently above them. The Death Corps marched through the wreckage, scanning, clearing, erasing, not rebuilding, not comforting, just finishing the mission, and then, just as quickly as they came, they were gone, back into space. Back into the dark, onboard Unit 91, Commander Ward stood in the observation deck. Behind him, Earth's war fleet reassembled. Drones returned to docks. The Leviathan vanished again into the void. Ward said nothing. He only watched the stars. The AI voice beside him broke the silence. "Enemy fleet destroyed. Civilian casualties. Minimal operation. Complete." Ward nodded. "Did they get the message?" "Yes," the AI answered. "But so did the galaxy." He turned his gaze toward the stars. They cried for help. And this time, what answered was not peace. It was Earth's vengeance. The Zorvak Empire was bleeding. What had once been a race of proud conquerors was now reduced to hiding in fractured fleets, scattered across forgotten systems. Their maps were filled with red marks planets, lost colonies destroyed, fleets wiped, out by Earth's relentless war machine. No one in the galaxy had ever done this to them, no. One had dared until now, but something else was spreading, to something that Zorvaks feared even more than Earth's weapons. Rumors whispers among the stars. Tales passed from one system to the next. They don't speak. They don't negotiate. They don't leave anything behind. And worst of all, they aren't here to help. They're here to end everything that threatens them. Across the stars, fear of the Zorvaks was fading, and fear of Earth was growing in the outer rim, on a quiet jungle moon called Velnor 3. A small Zorvak research station had gone silent. For weeks, no signal had come out. No updates. No activity. The facility was secret, hidden under thick jungle canopy, powered by geothermal vents deep below the surface. Only the Zorvak High Council knew of its purpose. Inside, something old had been reawakened, something dangerous, a weapon. The last hope of a dying empire back on Earth. In the Terran Deep Core Command, the AI virus received a flicker-one broken signal buried beneath layers of static. A stolen transmission. It wasn't meant for Earth. But Earth was always listening. Unknown. Activity, Velnor 3, coordinates confirmed. Possible weapons research. Possible Zorvak contingency plan. Within seconds, the mission plan was written. 3 words stamped in red across the order. Neutralize with finality. No questions, no delays. Earth moved. Commander Elias Ward stood in the hangar bay of Unit 103, surrounded by armored veterans and AI specialists. A massive dropship hovered behind him, ready for launch. "This isn't a rescue," he said, his voice calm but firm. "We're not saving civilians. We're not negotiating with scientists. We're going in to destroy whatever they built." 1. Soldier raised a hand. "What if they unleash it before we arrive?" Ward's eyes narrowed. Then we burn the entire moon. No one argued. They boarded in silence. And the warship launched into the black once more. Velner 3 was beautiful lush green trees, clear rivers, massive cliffs glowing under 3 small moons. But from orbit, the sensors told another story. The jungle wasn't just full of life, it was full of heat signatures, energy fields, and electromagnetic spikes. Something was underground, something big. As the first drop teams landed, the silence was total. No birds, no insects, no wind, just a quiet that felt wrong. Terran squads fanned out, scanning the tree line. Then the first shot came. Not from the jungle, from beneath it. The ground exploded. Mechanical claws burst from the soil. Towers rose from beneath the trees. Turrets, long hidden, camouflaged drones, activated and attacked instantly. But the Terrans were ready. EMP grenades silenced the sky. Railguns fired back. In seconds, a full battle erupted across the jungle trees, falling, smoke rising, and black armored soldiers pushing forward through fire and mud inside the command center of the facility. The Zorvac overseer watched the screens with rising panic. They found us already. Another officer shouted, "They're breaking through every level of defense. We haven't even activated the main weapon." "Then activate it now." "We haven't tested it." "Then Earth will be your test." Deep beneath the jungle, in a dark chamber filled with humming machines, a single capsule stood in the center of the room. Inside floated something no one had seen in 1,000 years. Zorvac, prime DNA, an ancient biological weapon. The last creation of the first Zorvac kings. A creature bred for only one purpose: kill everything that was not. Zorvac. It stirred, the lights turned red, and its heart began to beat. Commander Ward's squad reached the final blast door, just as the alarms changed tone. The AI in his helmet spoke quietly. "Unknown biosignature detected. Energy spike rising. Containment breach imminent." Ward raised his hand. "Prepare for deep breach. Set charges." His soldiers placed the explosives. The countdown began. 10 seconds. 8.5. The door exploded outward in fire and dust, and then they saw it. The creature was tall, taller than any human. Its skin was dark, pulsing with orange veins. Its mouth was filled with rows of hooked teeth. Its eyes burned red. Locked directly on Ward, it did not hesitate. It moved like lightning. The first 2 Terrans opened fire high-density plasma rounds. The creature took them and didn't stop. Ward rolled sideways, drew his sidearm, and fired. Directly into its eye, it roared. And Earth's most dangerous mission had begun. The battle inside the facility was chaos. Hallways twisted, fire filled the air. Terran units moved room by room, clearing scientists, silencing defenses, and searching for the weapon's power core. Ward's team lured the creature into the reactor chamber. "You sure this thing will?" "Hold it," a soldier asked. "No," Ward said. "That's why we're detonating it." The plan was simple. Trap the creature, seal the doors, and blow the entire core. One problem? Someone had to stay behind to arm it manually. "I'll do it," Ward said. But before he could move, one of his oldest soldiers, Corporal N, "Forward, you already gave Earth too much," N said. "Let me pay this one." Ward looked at him for a long second, then nodded. The doors sealed behind. N, the explosion shook the moon. The creature died in fire, and Earth survived. Back aboard Unit 103, Ward watched the burning surface of Velnar 3 from orbit. The jungle was gone. The weapon was gone. The Zorvacs had lost their last secret, but the cost had been high. One more name was added to the list of those who would never return. Ward stood alone in the memorial chamber that night, looking at a glowing wall, filled with names. No music, no ceremony, just silence. Earth didn't cheer for victories, it simply remembered the price. A message was sent to the galaxy. Encrypted, brief Velnar 3, neutralized. No survivors, no weapon, no mercy. It spread through trade routes and data. Webs it was read by commanders, smugglers, refugees, and leaders. One alien general whispered to his staff. Another ambassador said, "No one will stand in Earth's way now," but far from them all, in a quiet system near the edge of the Orion Spur, a new voice spoke in the dark. If Earth cannot be stopped, perhaps it must be matched. And somewhere, Something else began to awaken. The galaxy had cried for help. Earth had answered with fire. But now, the galaxy was holding its breath. Because the war wasn't over. It had only just begun. The galaxy was quiet but not peaceful. Since Earth began its warpath, every species, every system, every commander was watching. They had seen the fall of Velthor, the rescue of Carnes, the cleansing of Yandros, and now the firebombing of VELNAR-3. Each strike had been swift, brutal, and without hesitation. Earth wasn't sending diplomats, it was sending warnings, and everyone understood what those warnings meant. Do not become a threat, or Earth will come for you. In a dark star system near the border of neutral space, 6 alien warships floated above a shattered moon. Their commanders weren't Zorvak, but they were no strangers to war. They were Karnari, one of the oldest races in the galaxy. Traders, strategists, survivalists. They never picked sides, never fought on the front lines until now. Inside the lead ship, a meeting was taking place. Earth is too strong, said High Advisor Kelvior. They wipe out fleets in minutes. They silence entire planets. Another commander, General Brox, leaned forward. We are not Zorvak. We've done nothing to them. Kelvior narrowed his eyes. And yet we're next. The room went quiet. They all knew the reason. 3 months ago, the Karnari had sold stolen Zorvak data weapon designs, fleet codes, planetary maps. They thought no one would know, but Earth had found out, and Earth never forgot. Meanwhile, deep within Unit 91, Commander Elias Ward stared at a flickering hologram showing a new target Karnari Syndicate headquarters, orbiting a gas giant called Drolus. Beside him stood the AI virus. They claim neutrality, the AI said. But we intercepted transactions, proving otherwise. They traded with the Zorvaks even after Velthor Ward didn't blink. And what did they get in return? Credits, minerals, human DNA samples. Ward turned slowly. Repeat that. They bought Terran DNA fragments, possibly taken from battlefields, possibly for research. Silence filled the chamber. Then Ward's voice turned hard. We gave them warnings. We gave them examples. They chose betrayal. He raised his hand. Send. The Black Fleet. For the first time since the war began, Earth deployed its silent armada fleet of stealth dreadnoughts with no lights, no transmissions, and no signatures. They didn't warp into systems. They drifted invisible, undetectable, and deadly. The Karnari never saw them coming. By the time their scanners picked up movement, Earth's ships were already inside the systems, circling the station like vultures. But there was no attack, not at first. Instead, the station received a message. 5 words, "We know what you did." Panic spread through the command tower. KELV, or barked orders. Shut down all docks, activate defense rings, but their weapons didn't lock onto anything. The sky was empty until it wasn't. The first explosion came from inside. A fireball erupted from Dock 7. Then another from the data core. Earth hadn't sent missiles, it had sent saboteurs. Small black pods had landed in silence, days ago camouflaged and hidden beneath the station's hull. Terran infiltration units had already been inside the system, waiting. And now they moved. Karnari Elite Guard tried to resist. They failed. Terran operatives moved like shadows. They didn't shout. They didn't take prisoners. Each one was armed with cloaking tech, wrist-mounted plasma blades, and neurostone darts that could drop a beast twice their size. In under 10 minutes. The upper command levels went dark. KLVO ran to the emergency broadcast center. He tried to send a system-wide call for help before his fingers reached the console. A hand gripped his throat. A black-armored Terran soldier stood behind him. I can pay, Kelvior gasped. The voice that answered was cold, filtered, calm. Already paid. The blade ended him in silence outside. The silent armada opened fire. Now that the command center was compromised, there was no reason to wait. Railgun rounds ripped through the Karnari fleet. Precision strikes, every shot calculated. No wasted ammo, no random damage. Only removal within 20 minutes. The entire Karnari defense ring had been deleted from the stars. What remained of the station began to fall into the gas giant below, pulled down by gravity. Broken and burning. Earth didn't leave messages this time. only silence. Back on Earth, public news never reported the strike. It wasn't needed. Terran citizens didn't care for headlines. They trusted their war fleet. They knew one thing: if you harm Earth, Earth ends you. But in the shadows of the galaxy, alien councils were meeting in secret. They won't stop. They're not after peace. No, they're cleansing the galaxy. And somewhere deep in unknown space, someone was listening. Someone who had watched Earth rise from the ashes. Someone who had studied every Terran weapon, every strategy, every scar. They were not Zorvak. They were not Karnari. They were something older, something forgotten. And now, they were waking up. On Unit 103, Commander Ward reviewed the aftermath of the Karnari operation. The report was clear: mission complete, no survivors, no trace. But Ward didn't look satisfied. Virus, the AI noticed. You disapprove? But now they're uniting. Earth has become a common enemy. Virus replied, fear makes enemies. Fire keeps them silent. Ward looked into the black of space. No, fire draws something worse. He tapped the console and brought up a new signal. It was faint, ancient, not from any known species, not even from this galaxy, but it was moving toward them, slowly, deliberately, as if answering a challenge. Ward whispered under his breath. They cried for help. He clenched his fists, and we became the monsters. The war wasn't over, but soon, Earth would face something it had never expected. An enemy not afraid to burn with it. The Terran warfleet had gone quiet. After the annihilation of the Karnari Syndicate, no new targets had been named, no new systems were attacked. Earth's warships simply hovered, watching, waiting, scanning the stars. But the silence wasn't peace. It was the sound before a storm, because far beyond Earth's borders, something old had awakened, something no one had spoken of. In 10,000 years, something not even the Zorvaks had dared to disturb. In a dark part of the galaxy, where no signals reached and maps ended in static, a transmission repeated over and over in a forgotten tongue. It was not a distress call. It was not a warning. It was a summoning, a cry from beneath layers of cosmic radiation sent from a place older than stars. A place called Mithril. The signal had been dormant for millennia, buried beneath ice, sand, and ancient blood. But Earth's latest strike had reawakened it. The galaxy's balance had tipped too far now. The old ones stirred. And Earth had their attention. Inside Terran High Command, deep under Earth's surface, alarms pulsed in soft red light. Virus, the AI that oversaw every Warfleet system, had intercepted something strange. Unknown signal detected. Origin, Mithril system. Language, undecipherable. Pattern, ritualistic. Power levels, escalating. Commander Elias Ward stood beside the main holodisplay, eyes narrowed. Mithril, he said. That sector is dead. Nothing survives there. Correction, Virus replied. Nothing used to survive there. A second signal lit up the screen. Another, then another. The readings showed movement, massive ships, unlike anything Earth had encountered. Their engines were not plasma, not fusion. Something different. Something ancient. Ward leaned forward. They're not Zorvaks, not Karnari, not known. Correct, the AI replied. They are not in any database. Then came the most chilling part. They are heading for Earth. Elsewhere in the galaxy, fear gripped every species. The Zorvaks, what remained of them, had fallen silent. Retreating into deep space, the Karnari were gone, and now a new force was rising, one that answered no hails, followed no logic, and attacked without pattern. Ships vanished, spaceports went dark, scouts sent to investigate never returned. Whispers grew louder. A name passed from planet to planet, the Harbingers. No one knew where they came from, only that they moved like death, and Earth had woken them. On board Unit 91, Terran Command gathered in full. The room was silent. As they watched the footage, what little had been captured showed only flickers, black shapes tearing through stars. Moons imploding, gravity bending unnaturally. A massive ship, miles wide, emerged from a broken asteroid field. No sound, no light. Just shadow. Virus spoke again. They are not here to negotiate. They are not here for resources. They are cleansing. One officer asked, cleansing what? The AI's voice turned cold. Everything that fights like Earth. For the first time, Earth's confidence began to shake. Not because they were afraid, but because they didn't understand, and what Terrans didn't understand, they couldn't predict. Ward stood over the galaxy map. Options, he asked. Fight. Or fall, the AI said. And if we lose, there was a pause. Then Virus spoke words no one thought possible. There is a 38% probability we will not win this war. Silence. Earth had never been told it could lose, but it had never fought. This kind of enemy, in orbit around a burned-out colony called Viren 6. The Harbingers arrived. It was a test, a warning. Thousands of Terran drones had been stationed there at defense lines, plasma arrays, nuclear mines buried in orbit. They activated instantly and did nothing. The Harbinger ship moved through the fire untouched. Missiles bent mid-flight. Lasers passed through it like smoke. And then, with no weapons fired, the Terran satellite grid melted. Not exploded, melted, as if time itself twisted around the enemy. A single message was left behind, burned into the crust of the moon, written in Earth's own language: you have become what we once were. And what we once were must not rise again. Back on Earth, panic spread through hidden corridors. No public statement was made. No civilian alerts triggered. But deep underground, the protocol vaults opened dot files. Locked for centuries, names erased from history. Weapons never meant to see the light of day. Ward entered one such vault, escorted by 6 elite Death Corps soldiers. Inside, rows of cryochambers lined the walls. Authorization accepted, said the AI system guarding the vault. Ward stared at one chamber glowing red. Inside slept a woman with metal along her spine and fire under her skin. Project Valkyrie, Earth's last resort. He took a deep breath. Wake her. In space, the Harbingers had changed course. They were no longer heading for Viran-6. They were coming for Salva home system. Ships were already on the edge of Pluto's orbit. Not warships, not scouts. Something else. Probes. Dark orbs, made of a material not found on any chart, moving faster than light. Gathering data, watching. Earth destroyed 517 more appeared. Every time one was killed, 2 more took its place. They are learning, Virus warned. Commander Ward clenched his jaw. Then we stopped teaching. The Terran war fleet gathered like never before. Every unit, every dreadnought, every human pilot, every AI drone, and at its center, the Leviathan, freshly armed and ready to burn the sky again. But even with all this firepower, Ward knew the truth. We're not fighting an empire, he said. We're fighting a memory. One of the officers frowned. What does that mean? Ward looked at the red energy trails streaking across the map. They're not just attacking, they're cleansing anything that looks like them. Anything that fights like them. They've seen this before. A long pause, and it destroyed them once. Now, they feared Earth would finish the job, and they were trying to stop that future before it began. Down in the lower decks of Unit 103, the chamber doors opened. Valkyrie stepped out, eyes glowing faintly. She looked at Ward. You finally woke me, she said. Who are we killing? Ward didn't smile. He simply said, something that thinks it's older than war. Valkyrie nodded slowly. Then, let's teach it fear again. Outside the ship, Terran engines lit up like suns, and across the stars. The Harbingers felt the coming heat. They had woken to stop the rise of monsters, but they hadn't realized one thing. Earth was the monster. The Terran war fleet had never assembled like this. Every dreadnought, every stealth ship, every drone carrier, all gathered around Earth, forming a wall of firepower and steel. From the smallest scout frigates to the Leviathan itself, they hovered in tight formations, silent, watching, because the Harbingers were coming, and they would arrive within hours. Inside Unit 103, Commander Elias Ward stood in the war room, watching the galaxy map zoom in on Sol. Dozens of red markers blinked at the edge of the solar system. Each one was a Harbinger vessel unlike anything Earth had ever faced. Ward turned to Virus, the AI report. They are forming a pattern around the system. Probes are anchoring in place. Estimated function, quarantine field. They're trying to trap us inside, Ward asked. Or isolate us from help, Virus replied. Ward narrowed his eyes. We never asked for help. He turned to his officers. We end this here now. On the dark side of Pluto, the first battle began. A Terran drone fleet launched forward hundreds of AI-guided fighters, armed with plasma torpedoes, EMP bursts, and nanoswarm missiles. They struck first, and for a moment, it looked like victory harbinger. Ships exploded in blue flame. Their formation shifted. Gaps opened in their defensive net, but then everything stopped. The destroyed vessels. Reformed literally grew back, as if time reversed itself. Pieces floated back into place. Hulls healed. Energy shields snapped back online, and then they struck. Terran drones vanished. No fire. No sound, just gone, as if they were erased from existence. From Earth, the signal was clear. Drone fleet lost. No survivors. 100% casualty rate. Inside the war room, no one moved. Ward stared at the data. They're rewriting physics. One officer whispered. Virus responded, not rewriting, bending it like they remember a time before laws existed. Ward's voice was hard. We need to fight them in a place they don't control. Virus replied instantly. There's one place they fear. Ward raised an eyebrow. Where, inside, their memory, the Leviathan received new coordinates. Its engines roared. The Terran fleet didn't wait for permission. Earth had already given the order. They launched past Mars, past Jupiter, past Saturn, and then straight into the dead zone behind Neptune, where the Harbinger probes were thickest. Terran ships, cloaked Leviathan, didn't it wanted to be seen. The trap worked. Harbinger vessels moved toward the Leviathan slow at first, then accelerating like shadows cutting through light. Their forms twisted as they moved, never the same shape twice. But they didn't know Earth had changed too. On board the Leviathan, the Valkyrie protocol had begun. Valkyrie herself stood at the heart of the ship, connected to every weapon, every targeting system, every AI. She wasn't just a soldier. She was a weapon made from humanity's darkest hours. She opened her eyes, and every Terran cannon fired at once. The space behind, Neptune became a war zone. Harbinger ships melted under the blast. Time rippled, space cracked, and still Earth pushed forward for the first time. The Harbingers stumbled. They weren't invincible, they could bleed, but then they changed. One of the Harbinger ships split open and, from inside, came something alive. A creature. No ship, no armor, just a floating ancient being covered in shifting light. Like a god made of memory, it looked at the Leviathan and the stars. Around it went dark. Inside Unit 91, alarms screamed. What is that? Ward demanded. Virus's voice dropped in tone. Unknown entity. It is broadcasting directly to human neural frequency. The screen lit up, and for the first time, the Harbinger spoke, but not in sound. They spoke directly into the mind. You are walking the path we once did. We burned empires. We became gods. And in the end, we destroyed ourselves. We will not let you do the same. Ward felt the words echo through his skull like thunder. He gritted his teeth and answered out loud, We are not you. The Harbinger responded, You are worse. And then it unleashed the full storm. Planets shook. Saturn's rings shattered as energy waves passed through them. Terran fleets were tossed, like leaves. In a storm, the Leviathan was struck hard cracks forming across its hull, alarms blaring inside. Artificial gravity failed. Fires erupted across decks. Valkyrie staggered, blood running from her nose, but she didn't fall. She reached into the core of the Leviathan and whispered one word. Overload. The ship's main cannon charged beyond safety levels. Plasma screamed. Through conduits, drones overloaded themselves and launched kamikaze strikes at Harbinger cores. If they were going down, they'd take the enemy with them. A final, blinding blast lit up the edge of the system. The Harbinger entity screamed not in sound, but in light. It folded in on itself, collapsing through dimensions, and then gone. Just like that, the others paused, flickered, and then pulled back, retreating beyond the system, out of soul, out of range. The battle was over, but the war wasn't won. Back on Earth, Ward walked through the ruins of the lower bunker. Screens flickered, floors cracked. Half the command crew, injured or gone. He looked up at the stars. They left. Viros responded, "No. They're watching." Why didn't they finish it? Because they were testing us. They wanted to see if we were already too far gone. Ward stared in silence, and then said, "And what did they decide?" Another long pause. "They don't know yet." Earth had survived, but the Harbingers had not left in defeat. They had left in fear, because they saw something in humanity that reminded them of themselves, their rise, their hunger, their fall, and deep in some ancient place of the galaxy. The Harbingers gathered they would return one day, but next time, they wouldn't just watch. Next time, they would erase Earth from memory, unless Earth changed course, unless it learned mercy. But Earth had no gods, only fire, only vengeance. And somewhere, deep in the Terran War Command, Valkyrie was already preparing. Because Earth knew the truth now. The monsters were watching, and humanity would be ready. The galaxy was quiet again, but it was not peace, not after what had happened beyond Neptune, not after the Leviathan's final blast drove the Harbingers back into the void. Earth had survived, but survival wasn't the same as victory. Every fleet was damaged, every commander exhausted, and deep in every Terran mind. One fear burned brighter than all. They will return from the far reaches of the Orion Arm to the broken ruins of the Karnari syndicates. Species whispered the same phrase. Earth stood against the old ones and did not fall. Some called it madness, others called it a miracle. But for many, across the stars, Earth had now become something else entirely. Not just a death world, not just a power, but a force of nature, something to be respected and feared inside Unit 91. Commander Elias Ward stood on the command bridge, staring at the star chart. Red dots blinked, remnants of Harbinger probes now drifting silently across space. Most were disabled, others had vanished. Virus Earth's AI Sentinel processed their last transmissions. They didn't flee, Virus said. They paused, observing, measuring what we could become. Ward didn't answer. He already knew. He had seen it in that entity's final gaze judgment without words. The Harbingers had seen the fire of Earth's will, and now they were uncertain whether to extinguish it or let it burn. He turned to the side screen, slowly, still recovering, still alive, barely on. In a medical chamber, buried under Earth's surface, Valkyrie floated inside a regeneration tank. Her skin was cracked, her bones were rebuilding. Her nervous system flickered like a failing star. Doctors monitored her, but even they couldn't understand her. Fully, she wasn't human anymore. Not fully, not after what Earth did to create her. And yet her eyes fluttered open. She spoke one word, ready, even half-dead. Earth's weapon remained loyal, because the war wasn't over. It was only on pause back in the stars. The last survivors of the Zorvak Empire had gathered in hiding. They were broken, shamed, hunted, but they were not dead. And now they saw something new in the galaxy, something terrifying. Earth had defeated them. Earth had destroyed their worlds. But the Harbingers, they had shaken. Earth and still lost, a Zorvak general spoke to the others. If we do not unite now, we will be erased. And who would lead us? Another asked. You, the general snarled. No, he raised a datapad, showing Earth's flag. They will lead, or they will destroy. In the Terran Council chamber, Ward stood before leaders and military officials. He had never spoken to so many at once before. But now, the galaxy was watching. Every allied world, every neutral species, even former enemies had tuned in. We are not conquerors, Ward began. We did not go looking for war. He paused, but war came, and we answered. Not with surrender, not with silence, but with fire. The crowd remained still. We burned because we were pushed. We destroyed because we had to, and we survived, because we never stopped fighting. A ripple of nods, but now the galaxy knows what we are. He stared into the cameras, and what we can become. His voice dropped to a near whisper. They thought we were monsters, he leaned forward. They haven't seen our mercy yet. 1 week later, Earth launched Operation Emberlight. Not a war campaign, a mission of recovery. Terran ships arrived on ruined worlds Thor, Yandros Karnisnot. To conquer, but to rebuild, Terran engineers repaired colonies. Terran medics healed survivors. Terran soldiers protected those too weak to protect themselves. And everywhere they went, people expected fear. But what they found was discipline.order.control, the same force that had burned empires now built shelters and cleaned rubble. Earth's fire was no longer wild. It was focused, and the galaxy began to breathe again. But deep in the void, the harbingers watched. They had retreated into a dimension no one could enter. A place without stars, without time. They studied Earth's every step, weighing. They had come once to erase what they feared and failed. Now they faced a new question. Would they attack again? Or would they become something worse? Something Earth had already become. Watcher in the dark, on board the Leviathan, under heavy repair near Luna's orbit. Valkyrie stood at the edge of the observation deck. Her new armor shimmered lightweight, reactive. Silent Ward joined her. "They're still out there," he said. She nodded. "I can feel them. What do you think they want?" She stared into the stars, "To make sure we don't become them." He looked at her. "And are we?" She turned slowly, eyes glowing faint gold. "Not yet." Then she walked away. Her shadow stretched long across the floor. The next day, Earth received a transmission. No origin, no name, no voice, just text, glowing in harsh red letters. "We will return when your fire burns too bright. Until then, burn carefully." Ward read it twice. Then he smiled and sent Earth's reply. "We don't burn carefully, we burn with purpose." The message vanished into the stars, and far, far away. A flicker of laughter echoed in the void. Peace returned. But it was not weak. It stood tall, armored in ash and flame, because now the galaxy understood. Earth was no longer a young world begging for survival. It was a judge, a warrior, a shield, and sword for those who had no voice. And if the stars cried for help again, Earth would answer. Not with fear, not with hope, but with fire. Always the end. Hey, ha 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 ha.